Okay, welcome everybody. We will call the Belvedere City Council Committee of the Whole for February 28, 2022 to order, and the clerk will call the roll, please.
Brereton.
Here.
Fleury.
Here.
Frank. Here. Freeman. Here. McGee.
Here.
Mulhall.
Here.
Porter.
Here.
Prather.
Here.
Snow.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
10 present.
Thank you. We have no public comment for this evening. We have no public forum for this evening. Under reports of officers, board, and special committees, under item 1, under other, we have appointment of Dawn Brooks to the Belvedere Historic Preservation Committee. As an FYI, I did have a chance to meet with Dawn Tuesday evening at the Historic Preservation Committee. A very nice young lady. And as you're all aware, it's difficult to get individuals that want to participate and that want to volunteer. I think she'll be a wonderful individual to take this position. So I would entertain a motion for Ms. Brooks. Alderman Fleury. The motion consent to approve the appointment of Ms. Brooks to the Belvedere Historic Preservation Commission for a 3-year term ending in May of 2024. Motion by Alderman Fleury, second by Alderman Snow. Any discussion, any comments, any questions? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion passed, thank you. And also, we have item B, 1B, the appointment of Jack Barnes to the Police Pension Fund. So do we have a motion to that effect? Motion by Alderman Stevens. Do we have a second? We have a second by, thank you, Alderwoman Prather. Any discussion regarding Mr. Barnes? Alderwoman Freeman?
Thank you, Your Honor. I just, what exactly does a person that is appointed to the Police Pension Fund Board do?
Go ahead.
You want to take it?
I can answer it, yeah.
Feel free.
Down?
Yeah, just like that.
All right. I'm one of the fire pension board members, and so the board used to pick fund managers. That is all that's been transferred down to the state, the funds. But what the board members do is they vote on things like disabilities. They hire all the accountants. They make sure all the checks are paid. So he's a member of 5 on the board, and then he'll vote on matters like that.
After the consolidation of the pension funds, and the police pension fund is not fully consolidated yet, so they're still handling some of their own investments. But they're in the process of switching that downstate. The biggest thing they probably do is considering all the retirement. Every time somebody retires, they have to apply to the pension board for a pension. And if it's a disability pension, then they have to have public hearings and conduct an investigation of whether or not it's duty or non-duty related. So.
And Mr. Barnes also sits on the fire pension board, I believe.
I think he's only fire.
He's only fire now.
We're considering applying to the police tonight.
Yeah, this is for the police. So,
3 or 4 months.
okay.
And he's just finishing his initial training, which is 16 hours. It is, and that will already,
So, just so that everybody is aware. Alderman Porter?
I was just wondering, how long is the appointment for?
This appointment for him is, I believe this is a 3-year, I believe.
I don't recall. I can let you know by Monday night for council.
I believe it's a 3-year, but we'll let you know. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second then on the floor for the appointment of Mr. Jack Barnes to the Police Pension Fund Board. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion passed, thank you. We have item C, Public Works extension of the intergovernmental agreement for the annual painted pavement marking program. Brent?
Thank you, Your Honor. A memo in your packet, our intergovernmental agreement that we have with the City of Rockford for our painted pavement markings. It's a joint agreement between the City of Rockford, City of Cherry Valley, or Village of Cherry Valley, excuse me, and the City of Belvedere. It includes provisions for 2 one-year extensions. I would recommend approval of the final 1-year extension for our intergovernmental agreement with the City of Rockford for our annual painted pavement marking program.
Do we have a motion to that effect? Motion by Alderman Frank, second by Alderman Stevens. Any questions regarding that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion passed, thank you. And we have item D under Public Works, the PFAS evaluation report for wells 3 and 4. Brent?
Thank you, Your Honor. The majority of your packet tonight was consisted of the PFAS evaluation report for wells 3 and 4, as well as our preliminary design work done for the new well 11, completed by Strand and Associates. The report recommends that wells 3 and 4 be decommissioned and new well 11 be constructed. That construction, we will be applying for IEPA Public Water Supply Loan Program financing for that construction. A lot of the paperwork included in the report was preliminary information that's needed for that application for that low-interest loan program on the water side. It's similar, quite similar to the loan program we've used on the sanitary sewer side for our last 2 projects, major projects down there, and this will be on the water side for the water version. There was a lot of good information overall on our water system included in the report, which is why I furnished copies of the full reports to all of the council members. And again, if you look at in the recommendations and the costs, basically to treat the PFAS for well 3 and 4, the estimated cost was $3.9 million, with an annual media cost of between $30,000 and $40,000. If we combined, made the connection as one recommendation option between the 2 and had one central treatment facility, it was $3.8 million, and the cost estimate for construction of the new well is $5.1 million, which is why, again, we're going with the recommendation of that new well. The first step in that the next step in that process would be to do the engineering work done to go out to bid for drilling of the new well, and then also do the pump test on that new well and get the results from that pump test to see exactly what treatment facilities will need to be constructed with the new well house. We will have a proposal to do that work. I'll have that proposal from Strand in front of you at our next Public Works Committee meeting. So there's no action to be taken tonight per se, and we'll follow that up with, again, recommendation for additional engineering on new well 11 at next month's Public Works meeting.
Okay. Questions for Brent? Alderman Snow?
Brent, out of curiosity, the well, the last one we put in, they went down deep enough, they wound up hitting a lot of iron and stuff. Obviously, this well is going to be on this side of the river. Are we going to have the potentially same issue, or will they try to progress down to the sea before they wind up having to go too deep?
Well, it's not a question of going too deep. It's the deep water aquifer, which we've got one shallow water well, the rest of them are in the deep water aquifer. They're all in the same aquifer, just different locations. So whether or not we have to treat, if the iron is heavy enough or prevalent enough that we have to treat for it, then we'll have to treat for it, and you don't know until you actually drill the hole and do the pump test.
Alderwoman Freeman?
Thank you. I haven't had the time to extensively look at this yet, Brent, but do we know the capacity that we're looking to get out of the new well?
Yeah, the new well will be the same as, same design as well, the new well number 10 and well number 8, which is designed to be about 2,000 gallons per minute. So with that well, if we, once we decommission 3 and 4 with the new well, that new well capacity should take us through their 2041 projections included in the report.
So we're looking at the average flow equal to about 1,500?
So the new well will outproduce what we're getting out of the 2 existing wells that we're going to decommission.
So could we then, well number 5 doesn't seem to produce a lot. Could we maybe get rid of that one as well?
No, you want to keep, you want to have all your options available to you depending on when, whatever the situation may arise. Knock on wood, we haven't had that situation, but you could have, we've got 2 wells down now. So it's a good thing we had that capacity. If you could have 3 or 4 wells down conceivably, and you'll want to maintain that capacity, so.
So 3 and 4 are currently offline?
3 and 4 are offline, and the system, the SCADA system that we have on the water system allows us to program, basically it's controlled by the water towers and the elevation and what needs to come on, what needs to go on, and they're all programmed into the system so that they all have a chance to operate and run and keep it refreshed that way, and it's all done through the computer programs.
And also, Brent, 3 and 4 produce about less than 1,500, correct?
Yeah, just a little bit less, so.
And the new well, 2,000. But also, would you touch on the age of 3 and 4, the oldest one being what?
Well number 3 was drilled, I think the report, I think it's 1912, I think. And then well number 4 was done, I believe, in the late 30s, early 40s, and those are our 2 oldest wells that are still in operation now. So it's probably a good time to decommission those and replace it.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we don't need any action on this this evening, so we'll move on. And under item 2, public safety unfinished business, we have none. Under item 3, public safety new business, item A, police department update, Chief Woody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since last month, the police department has had conversations with Officer Reese due to the stress and strain that caring for K-9 Shep has put on him and his family. He's going to be transitioning out of the K-9 program. Officer Kozlowski is being appointed as the new K-9 handler, and he'll be transitioning from DEA back to patrol in May. The department as a whole is going to be looking at going away from participating in the DEA task force, and we will be instead affiliating ourselves with the State Line Area Narcotics team, otherwise known as SLANT, who's run by the Illinois State Police. We feel that given the direction and the needs of the department, SLANT just provides better narcotic investigations for what our department and pretty much the city needs at this point. DEA in its time was a huge benefit to our department, and many officers took away a great deal of investigative information in addition to being able to utilize their jurisdictional authority for our local narcotics detectives. With changes in legislation and opinions of judges in the area, that seems to be harder and harder to utilize. So we believe that we'll have more benefit transitioning away from DEA and putting somebody in SLANT who concentrates more on mid-level narcotics investigations more regionally within the State Line area. The department is currently in the process to hire either a lateral, preferably, but if not, a new entry-level officer to replace Sergeant Damon, who is retiring May 4th of this year. That would conclude my report. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Alderman Snow.
Out of curiosity, when it comes to dropping out of the DEA portion, do we lose any forfeiture money, the asset portion?
Nope. Anything that we currently have, we continue to get to keep, and anything that we've already what's called a DAG, that's the percentage of any forfeiture that would have been awarded to us and is currently being processed. Once that's finished processing, that'll be then forwarded on to the Belvedere Police Department.
But does the state portion have any thing like that, or we, in the overall scheme of things, 2 or 3 years down the road, we're going to lose out on that resource?
Nope.
Funding?
Yeah, no, good question. The state does have asset forfeiture. They have state asset forfeiture. So any monies and properties that get seized gets processed by the state police, and ultimately Belvedere Police Department will have the ability to participate in that program as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Chief Woody? Okay, hearing none. Chief, item B.
If I could have you turn to the memo in your packets for the request to approve the contract sale of Belvedere Police K-9 Shep. And just a little background, October of 2020, Belvedere Police K-9 Shep was diagnosed with a ligament tear in his hind right leg. He was treated at UW Vet Clinic and performed the recommended rehabilitation. During rehab, due to the compensation for the injured and surgically repaired right leg, Shep was diagnosed with the damaged ligament in his left hind leg. May of 21, Shep received treatment again at UW Vet Clinic to surgically repair his damaged left ligament. The recovery this time presented several issues with infection, which caused numerous health issues for Shep. Over the last 6 to 8 months, Shep has battled infection, nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting. Due to the severe infection, Shep had to have the metal plate that was surgically placed in the leg to hold the ligament removed. During this time, Shep had not been able to rehab the current ligament and has ceased any rehab in the previous repaired leg. At this point in the recovery process, Shep has shown an ability to do basic tasks, but there is a probability that Shep will not recover to the point that he could perform as a working dog. There is still a probability that Shep may have to have an additional surgery to remove the plate in the other leg in the future. To date, Shep has incurred medical bills in excess of $10,800. Based on this information, I'd recommend selling K-9 Shep to Sean Ryle, who's a friend of K-9 Officer Zach Reese, for $300. I would request a motion to authorize the contract sale of Belvedere Police K-9 Shep to Sean Ryle for $300.
Okay, do we have a motion to that effect? Motion by Alderman Snow. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman McGee. Discussion? Alderwoman Frank?
If Shep has to have surgery again, are we responsible, or is the new owner?
Now, once the sale goes through, then that responsibility would fall on the new owner. The new owner is completely aware of Shep's history and potential for further medical costs and is willing to take that on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, we'll say it certainly didn't pan out the way that we had hoped it would, but the council, I know you, Chief, Police Department, the council, with the help of Madison, UW, had done everything that we possibly could do to put him back in service. So, but here we are. So, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the floor will say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion passed. Chief, item C.
Thank you, Mayor. If you would please turn to the memo in your packet to request to accept a $15,000 donation. I present to you a request to accept a $15,000 donation to assist in the purchase of a new police K-9 for the Belvedere Police Department. Donor wishes to remain anonymous. As the council previously requested, the identity has been disclosed to the mayor. I understand that this is an issue for some of our citizens and listeners, and wanted to just express, based off some information I had received from some of the donors, stating that simply some donors don't want or need the recognition. They simply feel fortunate to be in a position to donate and want to help causes they feel passionate about. Some donors don't want others soliciting their money once they find out that they're willing to donate. And some donors don't want to be questioned why they give to certain causes and not others. So having said that, if approved, Sergeant Byrd and K-9 handler Kozlowski will be researching different vendors to find the right dog for our department. I would request to approve accepting a $15,000 donation for the purchase of a police K-9 for the Belvedere Police Department.
Motion by Alderman Fleury, second by Alderman Porter. Do we have any discussion? Alderman Burden?
Thanks, Mayor. Just for the record, in the past, I've asked some questions about the anonymous donations, and that's just because, you know, I'm asked from constituents, but I did speak with the chief outside. He assured me that the donation isn't coming from any kind of kingpin or anything, and I think this is it's a good donation, so that's all. Just wanted to say thanks.
Thank you, Alderman Burden. Any other comments? Any other questions? Any concerns? Alderman Porter?
You may be going to cover this later, but I'm just wondering how much it's going to cost to replace him then with a new police dog?
Yeah, we anticipate it won't cost more than $15,000 at this point. We're still looking at a couple different vendors, so we don't have an exact dollar amount. Officer Kozlowski is going to have to go to training along with the dog. The last dog that we purchased was right in the area of $12,000, $13,000. So we would anticipate that that price is going to be within that ballpark, but there's possibility that it could be a little bit more. But we are confident that at this point it should not exceed the $15,000 donation that we're requesting.
Anything further? Alderman Snow.
And just for clarity, Officer Kozlowski had been a previous K-9, so it should be a relatively smooth, not a newcomer to the whole issue.
That is correct. The training for Officer Kozlowski and the new K-9 really will be for them to learn each other's style and ability to read one another. There are subtle nuances from dog to dog, so he does have prior K-9 training. That is correct.
Okay, the only thing I would say is I want to thank this gracious donor. We're fortunate to have somebody that is willing to come forward and make a donation to our department and to our community. So to that person, I want to thank them. And so all those in favor of the motion to approve accepting a $15,000 donation for the purchase of a new police K-9 for the Belvedere Police Department, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passed. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Moving on, item D, Fire Department update. Chief Iser.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Since our last report, your fire department has responded to 243 calls for service. Training. The department trained on numerous topics for a total of 770 hours in the month of February. Some of those topics are building construction types under fire load, batteries and when fires, NIOSH collapse, after action reviews, behavioral wellness for emergency responders, bloodborne pathogens, Give me a few pages here I need to get out of the way. Daily fitness is every day. Also daily non-emergency drive time. Documentation and reporting. Donning and doffing the SCBA. Upper airway pediatric emergencies. Fire arson training sessions. Hazmat team training. The Herman load. Landing zone pre-plan. Lockout tagout. Responding to electrical emergencies, mechanical advantage in systems with rope, and SCBA selection and care, and updated rules and regulations review. So as you can see, department trains a lot of different topics. Like I said, that's 770 hours last month alone. Also wanted to report on the roof that we had done back in January. The final cost of that roofing for the apparatus site of station number 1 after December's wind damage was $2,828.40. I was trying to find a photo, the one I sent you. I can't find it. So anyway, it looked good. That's for the roofing. That's for the coping. That's for the gutters and the downspouts. So. And then also I want to let everybody know next Monday, March 7th at 10 o'clock a.m., the fire department will be swearing in a Belvedere resident, Corey Mitchell, right here in these council chambers. Corey will be replacing retired firefighter Josh Oates. Does anyone have any questions?
Alderman Fleury.
What time's the swearing in on March 7th?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Heiser? Okay, hearing none, we'll move along here. Item E, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see. We applied for a grant with General Mills for money to purchase an animated sign for Belvedere Fire Station number 2. We've been trying to do this, fund this purchase for quite some time, since 2017. Finally received a significant amount of money to cover a bulk of the cost. We anticipated it would cost an additional $7,000 to $10,000 more to install a professional sign that will allow us to educate and inform our public. Messages such as fire prevention, safety, tips, health awareness, our open house, and other services that we may offer. We feel station number 2 is a great location due to the fact that there are 6 schools in that general area and a lot of car and foot traffic. Some of this grant is also to be used for hazmat monitoring equipment. Both the sign and the hazmat equipment were listed on the application. I want to give special thanks to firefighter Mark Beck. He did a lot to secure this grant, and I want to thank him.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Chief Heiser, regarding that? Alderman Porter?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Chief, I fully support this sign. It seems like a really good idea. I was just wondering, $7,000 to $10,000, is there any other maybe grants or something that available that might cover some more of that cost?
Yeah, in the past, Alderman, I'd gone to a couple clubs, some of the clubs are in town, asking for money from them. And I believe we can get some of those monies at some point. There could be more grants coming down the line that we could potentially go after. So there's opportunities for us.
Chief, is there any time limit on that, on using that grant? Just curious.
I would have to check that if there is an expiration, but not to my knowledge.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Okay. Seeing no other question, Alderman Burden.
Thanks, Mayor. So just for clarification, we went to them and said we wanted this sign. Is that right?
No, we applied for a grant. It's General Mills gives the opportunity for grants in public safety. And to answer your question there, we put part of what we listed as things that we'd like to get would be an animated sign and some hazmat equipment.
I got a few questions about this, honestly. Do we see an increase in the electric bill at all to run this sign?
I'd have to look at that.
I'm just wondering things about maintenance and the time it takes to program it, that kind of thing.
I don't know, we can explore that and then touch base back. Here, Chief, can you tell me when this grant was applied for, approximately? I wasn't aware of this grant. I don't think it was here. I don't think it was applied for since I've been here, but I think it's been quite some time.
I would have to look at my emails that Jeremy Johnson from General Mills, I reached out to him and asked if it was still a thing, and he said yes, it was.
Yeah.
So we applied.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe just a little background. Okay,
Of course.
thank you. Anything else? Okay. Hearing none, hearing nothing else, we'll move along here. Oh, I'm sorry. We need a motion to accept that grant. Motion by Alderman Snow. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Fleury. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed, thank you. All right, item F, please.
Yep, moving on. The Belvedere Fire Department needs to address the roof on the administration side of Station Number 1. Enclosed are 3 bids in your memos, which include material, equipment, labor, and warranty. I have A, B, and C listed there: Freeport Industrial, McDermott Roofing, and H.C. Anderson Roofing. If you recall, Freeport Industrial was the contractor that did our emergency work, roof work this past January. And for consistency of product and warranty, I would recommend Freeport Industrial Roofing to complete the re-roof of Station Number 1.
Okay, do we have a motion to that effect? Motion by Alderman Snow, second by Alderman Stevens, and do we have some discussion, please? Any discussion? Alderwoman Frank.
Thank you. Is this an addition to the money that we paid for the emergency roof?
Down at Station 1, the roofs, there's 2 separate roofs down there. So this would be for a separate roof above the administration side, all right? So this would be, yeah, we paid the $2,828. That was for the apparatus side.
So this is a separate flat roof, essentially,
That is correct.
but it's on the Station 1 building proper.
That is correct.
Okay. Alderman Brereton.
Thanks, Mayor. So then, again, for clarification, once this roof is fixed, then the roofs are done being repaired?
Yes, that should give us 15-year warranty. Right now, I believe the roofs are in year 20, 21, 22 right now. So both of these roofs will be done, and both of them have a 15-year warranty, and I would expect more out of it.
Alderwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Chief, we were looking at doing all of this at once, right? Like, we needed to replace both the roofs. The reason we went ahead and did the apparatus side was because we had a hole and it leaked. And collectively, doing both of them was going to be well upwards of $40,000. So technically, we saved, well, according to this, over $20,000 by having it go bad before we were able to replace it.
That's correct. Unfortunate wind damage that occurred, we did, the city realized a new roof for $2,800. Yeah. It was gonna cost, if, altogether, it would be $60,000 for both roofs to be done. So,
So we're basically getting both roofs for less than $32,000.
that's correct.
We had a fortunate windstorm. Alderman Stevens?
Did insurance pay part of this also, or is this all on
No.
us?
This one's on us.
The first
Yep.
emergency, it was all on us. Okay.
So, the first roof that was damaged by the wind, that was paid for by our insurance provider. Yeah, yeah. And that was the fortunate wind damage that we had. And I will say that, you know, it happened at an inopportune time because fortunately, we were able to get someone out there so that we didn't have any ice damming and then the water backing up and going into the structure. And then we were going to deal with, as we had talked about, we were going to deal with a potential water damage inside, not counting maybe any mold or certainly we were going to have remedial work on the inside. So it really, all in all, we really were fortunate. So may not have seemed like it at the time, but it has been. So anyhow, we have any other questions? I guess timing's everything. Hearing none, then we have a motion and a second. We do have a motion and a second, right, correct? For the low bid of Freeport Industrial Roofing at $29,470. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed, thank you. And item G, Chief Heiser.
Thank you. Plaster repair and maintenance of ceilings and walls at Station Number 1. Belvedere Station Number 1, apparatus site is a 105-year-old building. The interior walls are made of plaster and lath. Due to a leaking roof, we have numerous water stains and missing plaster on our ceilings. In addition, the interior walls have many cracks and holes from years of normal wear and tear and natural settling. Plaster and lath is a dying art, and contractors that do this work are hard to find, especially local ones. We reached out to 3 contractors for bids. We received only 2 back. One was Gordon Johnson Plastering for $3,977. The other one was for Patriotic Plastering, $4,700. I would recommend a low bid from Boone County contractor Gordon Johnson to do this work. He lives and works in the community, and he comes with many good customer reviews. This work will be paid from line item 01-5-220-6010, repair, maintenance of buildings.
Okay, do we have a motion to that effect? Motion by Alderman Stevens, do we have a second? Second by Alderwoman Prather. Okay, any discussion? Alderwoman Freeman?
Thank you. So Chief, how much money do we have left in this line item?
I actually had that written down somewhere. Shannon, could you help me out?
That's okay, I don't need an exact number. My question really is, we're coming nearing the end of our fiscal year, so is, to your knowledge, plenty of money in there to cover any upcoming incidentals in the next couple months?
Yes, there's plenty of money in there. Yep. I think we've used 35% of our allotted figure, which I believe to be in the 20,000 range, so.
It is, any other questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4, finance and personnel and finished business, we have none. Item 5, finance and personnel, new business. Finance and personnel, Finance Director Hanson, item A, an update. Do you want to share anything here tonight?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
You have in front of you tonight a binder that includes drafts of all department budgets. Please bring these books with you to each committee meeting between now and when the final budget is approved. If changes are made during the reviews, you'll be provided with updated pages at the next committee meeting. You also have 2 loose leaf papers, a capital budget for fire and one for police. As a document under the capital tab in your binders is a combination of all departments, you're also being provided with copies that are department specific. I believe I'm speaking for myself as well as for Mayor Morris that this process has been a great learning experience. Each and every line item has been reviewed multiple times, and in some instances, activity for the past 5 years was reviewed in order to better understand patterns and uses. We also met with each department head, and we thank them for their time and explanation into their particular budgets. While the format in the binder is similar to what you've seen in the past, I do want to share a few things. The first page in the budget book is a recap of the general fund. Once the final budget is approved, it will provide you with a quick snapshot of the fund. Until then, please keep in mind tonight is the first step in the review process, and the figures contained in the recap will change between now and mid-April. In the top box under each line item, a column is included indicating the percentage of change from one fiscal year to the next. For example, on page 8 of the police department budget you'll review tonight, the suggested budget amount for line item 015-210-5152, which is training, as presented, is a decrease of 8.76% from the current budget amount. While this information appeared in past budgets for select number of line items, it is now available for every line item in the budget. The third box under each line item, or the 5-year projections, has been removed. This information is not required by state statute or accounting guidelines, and given the current economy, it is in the city's best interest to focus solely on the upcoming fiscal year. As all 4 union contracts expire April 30th, an assumption of a 3% salary increase for all employee groups was made simply as a placeholder in the budget. Negotiations begin this week, and salary information will be updated based on the status of those discussions and future city council discussions. Please feel free to ask questions at any time during the presentations, as we welcome and encourage open and active discussions. And I will now invite Chief Heiser over to go over his budget.
I want to recognize Alderman Stevens.
I
He's got
want
his
to
hand
thank
up.
Sharon because we've gotten all of the budgets, whereas our past lady that did this told us it was impossible to get this like this, because I remember Rick asking questions and being told that there was absolutely no way we can do this, so I'm happy that Sharon was able to do this for us.
Shannon.
Sharon's my mom. I answer to that also.
Okay.
No, Ed's actually.
You know, if I want to say this, Shannon, when she come in here, there were a lot of things that were open-ended. I think I had made the statement to the council a little bit premature, because you may recall, I had said that Shannon was going to have assistance from our former budget finance director, and that's what I was promised, and that's what I was told. However, that wasn't the case. And Shannon has worked very, very hard, and she had went and worked with Sikich to get some assistance. She has worked and had help from the city attorney, from our city clerk, Sarah Turnipseed, from Abby Myers, from Erica, and but Shannon has rolled up her sleeves and done a tremendous job, tremendous effort to try and sort through without any help. And when I say any help, I mean not even having a question answered. So make no mistake about it, this was very, very difficult, and I'm very proud of her, because I had asked all of the individuals that I had interviewed, because I've sat up here before as an alderman, whenever these books in their entirety, even though they were a working piece in progress, when they were given to the aldermen out here, so that you wouldn't have these handed to you piecemeal, you would be able to get a look at every department. I was hoping that we may be able to, get these a little bit earlier, but she really did a wonderful job, and you have them, and you should have them. I believe you should have them. And so I take my hat off to her. It really was. It was a learning curve to overcome, and then it was a big, big effort to put it all together. So thank you very much, Shannon. I appreciate it. I'm very grateful, and I'm very impressed. So that's what you have. You can look at them, and we'll go through this together. It's a snapshot. There are things in here that I want you to look at. I want your input. Is this the final say? Not necessarily. But at least you guys are going to get it, and you're not going to be getting this at the last second. You're going to be getting this to be able to spend as much time as you want to and as much time as you need to. So, thank you.
That is, okay, good. Yep, it is. Okay, we'll go ahead and go through the fire department's 20 pages here. Cover sheet here, that's, I'm not going to read everything verbatim. That is our mission statement. Then at a glance, this is who we are as a total personnel. We're 30 individuals, chief, 1 administrative assistant, 3 captains, 3 lieutenants, 22 firefighter paramedics. Some notables: Captain Mark Zimbrego retired on May 2nd, 2021. He had over 27 years of service. Firefighter Chuck Rotello retired on May 2nd, 2021 with 20 years of service. Josh Oates retired on May 6, 2021 with 20 years of service. April 23rd, 2021, we hired Troy Vandenbroek and Zachary Bullard. They're sworn in the Belvedere Fire Department. One note on those two, they are local talent that we were able to recruit from another full-time fire department. On May 3rd, 2021, Chris Letourneau and Dan Draw were promoted to captain and lieutenant respectively. Okay. So some of the highlights we had for last year, although the guys trained extremely hard, and with me, I'm lucky to have Captain Shadle. He's our training coordinator. The guys do a lot of amazing stuff. Like I said, this past month, 770 hours. That's probably on average for us. Some of the big ones that we had, though, National Fire Academy Command and Control of Multi-Alarm Incidents. Captain Shado got to go to that. National Fire Academy Command and Control of Incidents. Firefighters Beck and Thornton, who both are aspire to be lieutenants here someday, relatively quick. We had Command Officer Academy that Drawell and Tangy went to. We certified 2 more investigators this past year, Elwanger and Winnie. We got some advanced firefighter state certifications over Meade and Winnie. Rope operations state certified, Meade. And we also sent Captain Burdick, who is the captain of C Shift. We sent him to management rights and discipline and termination classes. Some of the big equipment and building improvements we had last year is our new rapid response vehicle, Rescue 142, was put into service in the summer of '21. A new command vehicle was put into service this past winter. The apparatus bay side of station number 1, the roof was repaired, and the administration site is scheduled to be replaced in spring of '22. Purchased and installed a smart board in the training room at station number 1. That's been well used, to say the least. We also finished station number 1 upstairs remodel, which was a long process, and a big thank you to all the guys, but most notably Captain Letourneau and firefighter or Lieutenant Drawell now. We also installed We Are Responding. It's an informational program that I've been seeing since when I first started the fire service in mid-'90s, and now we have it at Station 1 and 2. Our objectives, as they usually are, continuing education for our firefighters and our officers. We want to continue to implement and improve our standing operating procedures. We want to continue to upgrade and maintain our equipment in our buildings. And then we want to continue to provide excellent service that exceeds expectations. I don't know how you want to go about this. Page 1 of 20. I don't have much to say on that. Please stop me if there's something you'd like to talk about. Page 2 of 20, that's our salaries for this coming year.
Again, just a reminder that we plugged in a 3% increase across the board just to have something to put in the budget at this time.
Thank you. This is our overtime. Page 3 of 20. We try to include everything that could potentially cause overtime in here. We try to streamline as much as possible. We had been holding the line on overtime for 5-6 years. However, the COVID pandemic come through and destroyed our overtime this last year and a half. So that's what we project to do next year.
Just a comment.
138,000.
Just a comment that
Alderman Snow.
looking back into year 14, 15, 16, and 17, those dollar amounts were much higher than they are now. I'm assuming that was from your taking over and trying to streamline stuff.
A lot of, yes, thank you, Alderman Snow. That I took over in fiscal year 16, and there's a $100,000 difference in overtime there. I think that was something to do with the firefighter grant. Captain Shadle, do you recall that?
It had a lot to do with your vacation policy and use on the calendar and your control of the overtime costs.
Yes, sir.
Caused most of that.
All right. Thank you for, yep. Thanks, man. Page 420, fire pension. I got an expert here with me, if anyone would like to ask any questions. No? All right. And health insurance, it is what it is on that. Dental insurance, the same thing. Shannon, you got it self-insured for dental. Uniform allowance,
Alderwoman Freeman.
So, what does the uniform allowance at $1,250 each cover? That's different from the PPE stuff that you guys get, right?
Yes, that's very different, actually. The uniform allowances for like the station wear that we have on right now, this type of uniform, shoes, shirts, pants, all that, are Class A uniforms. The PPEs, the personal protection equipment, that goes for, that's $2,500. That's for structural firefighting gear. As you well can imagine, the guys have to be thoroughly protected to go into dangerous situations. So, yes.
Thank you.
Different. Anybody, anything else? Okay. Page 8 of 20, training. Any questions on training? You suggest, you want to say anything? No? Okay. All right. Page 9 of 20, repair and maintenance of buildings.
Alderwoman Freeman.
So we just talked about taking some money out of this line item for last year's budget. So roughly, I think, after we take that out, there is still about 20,000 left in there. Can you guys roll that over into the next year for the same line item? Or does that just go back into the general fund? Or do you make sure that you use every dime of that because you can't roll it over?
Good question there. I don't believe it to roll over. Typically, we give that, goes back to the city. And if I'm able to utilize that money in a good management way, I would do that. There are some things I'd like to get done at the end of this, as we go into spring, and I'll be bringing some of that stuff forward.
It's actually all general fund money. That which is not expended this year goes into the reserve, and then you'd have to rebudget it again as part of this budget process if you want to expend it.
Page 10 of 20, repair and maintenance of equipment. Some of the items on this, in this line is annual equipment testing. OSHA requires us to test ladders and hose every year. It's quite an expense. Also, our air compressor, that's the air that the guys breathe when they go into immediate dangerous life situations, such as structure fires. So that compressor maintenance is done every year as well. Also, another item that is mandated is annual testing and repair of SCBAs and breathing air compressors. All that stuff has to be tested yearly.
Alderman Snow.
I'm looking at those three columns, 21, 22, 23, and I don't see any differences in any of the numbers from one column to another, but the bottom line shows the 1420 or 14.2, and then the 17 in each of the others, and unless I'm just not locking on to a number change.
Oh. There's a typo.
The problem with one of the formulas.
Okay. Typo or something. Okay, page 11 of 20. This repairs maintenance of vehicles. This entails annual testing of vehicles. Each year, fire pumps, aerial ladders in the vehicles, they have to be tested. So that's an expense that we have, and occurs every year. Tires are another thing that we potentially could, depending on how much you guys are running. Tires are, usually every year we're utilizing that money.
Out of curiosity, with the new pumper, mini pumper, do you anticipate possibly in the future that might reduce because you're not running the larger trucks with the bigger expensive tires.
Yeah, in the future. Yep. The hopes are that it's running. Yes. Page 12 of 20. Difference here, I think is this, we're going to stamps. Shannon, was that?
Right, the cancellation of 50 votes.
So we got rid of the, a stamp machine that we had at the station. That stamp machine was utilized by the inspectors a lot. We were doing a lot of mailings. That's not the case anymore since we went to Brycer, the compliance engine. So now we're just using stamps, we buy them.
Alderman Freeman?
Thanks. I'm sorry, Chief, can we go back to 11? So our 2003 Ford Rescue 140, it seems like it's going to be 20 years old here. How soon are you looking to replace that?
That particular vehicle, you're saying Rescue 140 is what you said? Yeah. Okay, so Rescue 140 was the ambulance that we purchased from Harlem Roscoe years ago. We're utilizing that as a water rescue vehicle. So all the dive equipment is inside that. Any other questions on that?
So it doesn't get a whole lot of wear and tear as far as needing to.
It does
high
not.
maintenance,
Yeah.
constant runs.
It's mostly trainings and if we have a water incident. Yep. So 12, we just went through telephone and utilities. As I said, it just changed a little bit. Moving on to page 13 of 20, physicals. As you can see it, we don't use that line item too much. I think sometimes somebody might need glasses or something like that, so it'd come out of there. Fit tests, we do fit tests in-house now, so that was reduced down to $1,000. Moving to page 14, fire prevention education. We reduced this figure down here. Some of the areas, annual inspection dues, we purchase, inspectors get online code books now, NFPA, National Life Safety Codes and what have you. So streamline a little bit there. Page 15. Oh, wait.
Alderwoman Freeman?
So do you guys offer CPR training and classes for the general public, and do you guys charge for those?
Nope. Yes, we do. We had CPR and offered. Also, we do seat installations too. So there are a number of different services that we would provide. But CPR is one of them, yes. Yep. We do, we'll do a lot of like some of the factories, like Chrysler affiliates. We'll go to them. Our guys will go there and they'll train their people. We also provide fire extinguisher training. And then, like I said, the seats are another thing because it's people who are having children. They need to, before they can leave the hospital, they have to come to us and have our certified technicians go through there, make sure they're installed correctly. Yep. Okay. Page 15. That line item remains the same. It got pretty beat up this year. As you can imagine, we went through a lot of face masks. We went through a lot of gloves and other bloodborne pathogen protection. So this year, hopefully, I'm hoping this pandemic is coming to an end, we can get back to normal. Page 16. This one here you might have some questions on, and that's why I brought this guy right here.
Chief asked me to come in and explain, anytime you guys see a 100% jump in a line item from 15,000 to 31,000, you probably have a couple questions on that. So the biggest reason being our records management service is our program. Alderman Stevens, I'm sure remembers, since the late 90s has been Firehouse, and it was something that captured all of our records. Anything that a fire department would need, it's one of the most widely used throughout the country. About 5 years back, another company bought Firehouse ESO Solutions and immediately started selling against it, knowing that it was going to be, for example, what I mean, you look, questioned. So the rep called and would send me quotes to try and buy the ESO fire software solution to stop buying the Firehouse. Firehouse is old. It sits on our servers. This is like a cloud-based annual subscription service, so it's significantly more. So for example, Firehouse costs the fire department about $2,000 a year in support because we own the program, and then we pay $2,000 for the updates and any support we need. The first year estimate for ESO with everything. Now, we haven't 100% made the decision on the best way to go that we'd present to you guys for approval, but the estimated cost for that first year cost is about $20,000 with $15,000 recurring. So that's why that makes up that $16,000 difference you see between those two numbers. So you might ask, well, what else is out there? So that seems like a good question to ask when you get something like that. So we looked around the other ones. At the time, we were still considering Firehouse as long as possible. So that was one that we're factoring in and weighing. Turns out it's end of life this December, so it's not going to be supported. We're not going to be able to use it reliably for records at the end of this December. So some of the other companies we looked at is Zoll, Emergency Reporting, Firehouse Manager, and Image Trend. The three best ones of those, ESO, the one that is very expensive, it's the one most widely used, and it's very good and it is the most inclusive. It includes everything that we need. Zoll and Image Trend, those are primarily EMS reporting, and then they've built the fire side to it. So it's not as good. It's more for, so we're a non-transport agency. Like a lot of agencies, their main thing is EMS records and transport records and stuff like that. So those, you see a lot of those. We had narrowed it down to we were actually going to select emergency reporting, and it was less cost than the ESO, but still quite a bit more than what we're used to paying, but less cost. So 3 or 4 months ago, ESO purchased emergency reporting. So that is going to be probably an end of life on that as well. The other ones really didn't compare. Fire Manager really didn't. And like I said, we haven't fully made the decision yet of what to bring to you for your permission, but it looks like ESO is going to be the solution. District 2 Fire also last year went to ESO. It's going to work with our CAD system down at Dispatch 2, and for every separate provider would be like maybe $6,000 to $8,000 to initially get that set up to communicate to the on the tablets and stuff to the vehicles and the phones and stuff. That's probably going to be put in place soon for ESO, and so if we stick with ESO, it sounds like the other chiefs in the county are going to go with ESO. So that's why you have in front of you probability, a likely cost of $20,000 for that initial first year. So that's the large increase that you guys see there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Alderman Stevens.
Did you say Firehouse was bought out by ESO, or who were they bought out by?
ESO bought them, yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, about 5 or so years ago, I can't remember the exact time, but immediately, as soon as they bought them, they called trying to sell their solution, even though they still owned Firehouse.
15 grand, you said after recurring?
Yeah, if we went with, you can choose your modules, but on the highest side of that, it would be like a 5,000 one-time setup cost. The other nice thing about ESO is they own Firehouse, so they can take all of our hundreds of thousands of records of apparatus, people, calls, incidents, EMS reports from the late 90s, and then download that into this system. So we'd have all of our information. So that is an added benefit. The others can kind of pick and choose what fields you would select to them. But
Thank you.
yep, no problem.
I mean, really, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, page 17, gas and oil. We budget $20,000 a year. As you see, oil's going up astronomically, so this figure, we could surpass that. You just don't know. I see back in 13, 14, 15, fuel was way up. So, anyway, that's $20,000. Any questions on that one? Okay. Page 18, operating supplies. We reduced that down, toned her down to 8,500. And page 19, the miscellaneous expenses. It's one of those miscellaneous expenses. So we took it down to 750. As you can see, sometimes I don't reach that. Sometimes I might. So this is a category where, when nothing else fits, this is where we use that line item, 7,900. Page 20, equipment. Of note, I'd like to talk briefly on the PPE. As I had said earlier, PPE, coat and pants, quite expensive. It's $2,500 per set. We're doing real well, the fire department. We've been keeping track of our members' gear and how old it is. The National Fire Protection Agency suggests that at 10 years, that PPE is to be changed out. So what we do with that, changed out gear, the guys will get new gear, and their present gear will go down into the basement, and it'll sit there in case we have an incident where they cannot get right back into their gear because they need to wash it. The guys can utilize that for the time being. So we're getting really close to everyone having a second set. So, all right. Let's see here. Anything else? All right. Moving to the 5-year capital. Okay. Everyone, okay. Everyone has a hard copy of that in front of them. A good thing happening here in vehicles, this can be the final payment for our newest engine. This year it'll be paid off. And at that point, I'll be coming to the council to seek permission to attain another engine. We start the process of lease to own. Equipment, extrication. We've applied for the small equipment grant from the state fire marshal. We've done that for 3 years in a row. I've asked, I've mentioned in council before, we've not been able to get this. However, this year, I believe it's going to happen for us. Okay, no problem. So anyway, I believe it's going to happen. Like I said, 2 or 3 years in a row now, we have not been able to attain it. They've been giving it to people with lesser budgets than ours. All right. Also, we're going to be looking to get some radios this next year. And moving down to technology needs in 2025, this is still this is something that Captain Shadle and some of the other chiefs in the area are talking about, station alerting. Is that the station alerting? Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Is that something that come to fruition?
Yeah, hopefully this is something that happens. It would be quite a change down at dispatch too. The biggest part of that is that it would actually move over our alerting from, right now it's communicated over VHF, over radio. So like a call comes in, they hit a button, transmits an alert over radio signal. Well, that's kind of old technology. So everything is done by internet nowadays with radio as a backup. So what it would also do is automate the dispatch, like we would probably not hear their voice on the initial dispatch, and so it would be a recorded tone. They'd be able to be on the call, send the ticket out, and we'd get dispatched while they're still on the call. We'd have probably maybe a 1 to 2 minute less time gap there. But the part of the station alerting system, the most expensive part is that no matter who you go with, that little receiver that gets the internet signal and then communicates everything to all your control devices throughout the station, that itself is $25,000 each. So station 1, $25,000, station 2, $25,000. And then what'd you budget for? 70? So, and then the other 10 or so, 20,000 per 10 per station would be like the lights, the speakers, the alarms and things like that, the stuff that goes off. So that is what the station alerting is. And it would depend on dispatch, so they'd have to make that change, and then we would follow up with that. But I would hope if we're able to do that, then we'd ask you guys for the support to do that. So,
very good, thank you. In the final infrastructure needs, apparatus floor at station number 2 is getting to the point where it needs work. The grates are starting to come apart, and the cement around them are falling apart as well. So it's getting to be somewhat of a hazard for the guys. So anyway, that's in our plan to get that taken care of. Thank you for allowing me to present this. If there's any other questions from anybody.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Porter.
Just a quick question on the, the previous page there, 20 of 20. What is the 2% fund?
20 of 20. The 2% fund is a international tax, and I'll probably mess this up, but it's a fund that we get yearly. It could be anywhere. When's the last one you recall? 40?
around 40.
Oh, $40,000 that we'd get. Most fire departments get it, and we're able to utilize that to better the fire department, better the guys, equipment-wise. So, yep. A lot of times, just to continue on that a little bit, a lot of times what we'll do, we'll go in like a 50-50 split on a high-ticket item. So then the 2% will help us out with that. So, all right. You bet.
Alderman Fleury.
Thank you, sir. Chief, just wanted to say again, thanks for presenting that and for your fiscal responsibility to the community here. Just want to again notice that, you know, as costs go up around us all every year, you know, your budget is actually reduced from last year. So thanks for all the hard work from you and from the team for stretching that penny all the way.
Thank you, Alderman. I'll pass that on to the guys. Thank you.
Alderman Stevens.
To answer also Tom's question, it's called the Foreign Fire Tax Fund. Anyone who insures with a fire insurance company that is outside the state of Illinois, 2% of your premium comes back to the city. So that's why it's nicknamed the 2%.
Yeah,
And it does come out with a good dollar amount.
Thank you, Alderman Stevens. All right. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, item B.
Thanks, Sharon.
Fire budget. Chief Woody. I'm sorry, police budget, Chief Woody. You can do the fire budget again if you like.
Hey, Shane, is that
Only
green-
if Shadle stays.
Chief, is the green light on the mic still on?
What's that? You were gonna defund the fire department. No, just redistribute.
Yep. And it's a touchscreen, so you can just scroll.
Perfect. I want to report on it.
The mic as close as you need, that's on.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean if you move this closer to it.
No, that should be good. Okay. Think we have everybody okay to begin, Mr. Mayor?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay. So if you will turn to the page with the Belvedere Police Department that starts with mission statement. I'll let you go ahead and read the mission statement on your own. Fiscal year 21, 22 accomplishments. Oh, went a little too quick. That's all right. Thanks to the support of the council, we implemented the COSAP grant community law enforcement officer. Participated in Feed the Need with 4 mobile food pantries. Provided 30 pallets of food for multiple charitable organizations within the community. We received an armored vehicle through the Law Enforcement Support Office, otherwise known as LESO, at no cost to the taxpayer. Held a multicultural bilingual Citizens Police Academy. Conducted 2 prescription medication disposals, collected 500 pounds of medications from the community. Continued with the patrol remodel. Implemented body-worn cameras, implemented the e-crash reporting system through LexisNexis, implemented the lateral hiring process.
Screen, sorry.
That's okay. Nope, wait, yep, you're good. Implemented the lateral hiring process. We received $15,120 in donations for various items throughout the city. 13.5 for the purchase of K9 Solo from Gene Baker and an anonymous citizen, $1,500 for a patrol remodel from Gordon Neese, $100 from Paul and Dorothy Hale, and $20 from Harry Smith. And then objectives for next year, complete annex remodel, complete the patrol remodel, deploy our armored SWAT vehicle, restructure SWAT, develop a regional SWAT team, and host a department open house. Any
Chief?
questions on that sheet?
Chief,
Yes, sir.
I think the new hires.
Oh, did I? Yep, okay. We have 4 new hires for this year. All laterals except for 1, Officer Sunset Winsler, Officer Dylan Rackley, Officer Zachary Smith, Officer Stephen Golden. Rackley, Smith, and Golden are all currently in Step 5, which is solo patrol. Officer Sunset Winsler is in Step 2 with Officer Garcia and progressing as expected currently. Any questions on any of that information? Okay. As I go through the police department's budget, there are certain things that I have highlighted that I will go ahead and comment on. If there's something obviously that you see that you'd like additional information on, please let me know, and I will touch on it. A great majority of our budget is status quo from previous years, so the new things that we have added are things that I will try and touch on, or things that are considerable expense. So, page 1, any questions on page 1? Alderman, sorry.
Year 23 is $3,000 for digit ticket supplies?
Yes, pretty much everything within this first page is contained further within the budget. $3,000 for Digiticket is for additional equipment. Those monies are distributed by the state. They're taken statutorily from traffic citations and can only be used for e-citation or Digiticket equipment, either printers, papers, and it has to be used specifically for that purpose. Any other questions? Page 2, salaries. The only thing notable in here that I wanted to touch on is the part-time CSO. Some of you may remember previous years when I had requested this be added to the budget. Approximately 2 years ago, council approved the expenditure, but because of COVID, the position never got filled. Originally presented as a way to address growing work that Kara has with city code violations, as well as a way to decrease the amount of time that the community policing coordinator, Blankenship, spends on fleet maintenance issues, allowing him to concentrate on community policing programs. For those of you who either weren't here or may not remember, the goal of this particular employee would be to divide their time between the building department and the police department to serve two functions, to assist Kara in city ordinance enforcement and the police department with fleet maintenance. Currently, Officer Blankenship averages 15 hours per week doing vehicle maintenance-related responsibilities, to include transporting cars from Butitas to Manly's to Cunis to Daniels to Tri-City to Automotive Solutions for squad repairs, installation of equipment. From time to time, in an attempt to keep costs down, he will also be tasked with installation of some of the equipment, which can take days or even weeks. 15 hours per week on average figures to be approximately $28,900 and 720 hours per year that the city pays for Officer Blankenship to complete these tasks. In contrast, I would ask the council to consider a part-time CSO, 30 hours per week, split between the PD and building department at a proposed cost of $25,688, which is roughly $17.83 an hour, for 1,440 hours per year. That also includes Social Security and Medicare. This will help Kira address city code violations more efficiently, as well as taking the fleet maintenance responsibilities from Community Policing Coordinator Blankenship, allowing him to better engage the public by coordinating additional CPAs in schools, coordinating an open house, continue to expand the reading programs with the primary schools, spend more time engaging on social media, help address neighborhood complaints through neighborhood watch programs, continue to expand collaboration with the YMCA and Belvedere Park District. Any questions regarding this request?
Alderman Snow.
So would this be considered a sworn officer, armed and everything, or non-sworn officer?
Yeah, it would be non-sworn civilian position. Any other questions regarding page 2?
$4 million. I liked back in 2008 when it was 2.5.
Yes. Things are more expensive, that is true. Page 3, overtime. Overall, this line item's been reduced by 14%. As you can see from year to year where the changes are. Any questions on that? If there's no questions, I'll continue to 4. I'll direct any questions for the police pension to Attorney Drilla.
Sorry,
Page
Police
4.
pension.
I don't have a budget.
Any questions regarding the pension? You're going to be better equipped to answer that than I am, or maybe even Shannon. Any questions regarding that? If not, moving on to 5, health insurance. If there's no questions, 6 is dental claims, which is for the most part contractual. Page 7, uniform allowance. Uniform allowance for union officers is set now by contract according to CPI. The only other addition in this particular line item, if you'll look down where it says plus, at the bottom of that it says traffic safety vests, 44 at $70 each. What those are, those high visibility traffic vests that we use when we're doing traffic control or other types of traffic or pedestrian control that require us to have these vests so either vehicles or other pedestrians can see us. Currently, our vests are designed so it's a flat front panel, flat back panel, and it attaches at the side. Once we went to the Molly gear, this is one of the unintended consequences, having all of our equipment up on our chest. We were able to get it off our waist, which was an advantage, but now that vest, when we have to wear it, obstructs accessing that equipment. So we're looking at going to a vest that zips from the front, so if need be, the officer could access that equipment rather efficiently, easily, and rapidly. So that would be the rationale for requesting that particular piece of equipment. Any questions on that? If no questions, move on to page 8, training. Overall, this line item has been reduced by 8.8%. Any questions on training? I will touch on assessments.